Greetings and welcome to another episode coming to you from the Thought Exchange Cafe's Health Corner, featuring Angela and Aurelius Pugh. Angela and Aurelius, please go ahead and identify yourself to the audience as you did for the first episode.
Hi, I'm Angela.
I'm Aurelius.
And this is the second episode of many more to come. And this episode, we're going to talk a little bit about what we learned from the first episode, but also we're going to talk about some of the information that we got back, some of the feedback that we got from some of the folks who watched. And we have a couple of items that we're going to do the best we can to describe some of the health benefits for you just as well. My name is Tony Davis, and I'm the host of the Thought Exchange Cafe. And I'd like to thank you for your time for tuning in. And we're going to get right into this thing, and we're going to go right back to Aurelius and Angela. Aurelius and Angela, on the first episode, we talked about eating foods and mental health, how it helps your mental health, and how also your mental health could decline if you're not eating correctly. Could you just, elaborate on that just a little bit more, just to, give the audience an idea of what the first episode was all about? But also, we would like to talk a little bit about your credibility just as well, too. Angela, you can start.
Okay. So we're going to talk about food. Food is something that people either really enjoy or some people have struggles and difficulties with food consumption. Or difficulties with preparing food too can be a thing. There are barriers with, ingesting food for some individuals. Um, Food as a whole is something that your body needs to survive, to function, to run itself, right? It's no different than putting gas into a car or a boat or, you need fuel for a fire, etc. And sometimes I think that people in general forget the importance of food, right? We think of food as an activity you do when you go out with other people, or it's somewhere to be when you're present. It's not something that people consider a priority, I think, a lot of the times for what they need every day. I myself have actually been, unfortunately, a person who has forgotten to eat at times when I'm running around during the day. And so I think, even speaking on it personally, that it's not always something that's in the forefront of somebody's mind. And then you wonder why you're not feeling well later, or you're grumpy, or you're um, feeling brain fog, or your muscles hurt. And it's all related to diet and food consumption. Um, and food is sustenance, right? Food is nutritious. It's helpful. It's good. And hopefully, with some of the conversations we're having here, people will start to see the correlation between the health benefits of food as well as with their mental health and physical well-being, and also maybe see that there's other things that food brings, because food has a lot of vitamins and a lot of nutritional value to it, and they all bring different things to the table. And a majority of medicines that actually are manufactured today, which are chemical bases, are off of a foundation of some kind of food or herb in the past.
Mm,
So if it's possible to get it through the original item, usually that's a better way of doing it than the chemical synthesized version of it.
that's interesting. Mm. What about you, Aurelius?
Well, yeah, I was gonna kind of talk a little bit about what I talked about in the previous episode, where consuming food also is not just a physical act, but also kind of a uh, event, right? Like we talked about last time about how when I was working at the nursing home, how it's important for folks to eat together as a gathering. It's like an event itself, and that did a lot for the mental health. And then also the relating how food's made, the food that you eat, that can bring back memories, that can take you to another place, remind you of your family. That's also some of the stuff that the folks at the nursing home talked about, and how the importance of food kind of works in more than just physical and mental health. One of the other things I was thinking about after seeing some of the comments is that, there are actually certain foods that do just give you endorphins, right? The one I always think about is dark chocolate. I think about it
Mm,
because
hmm
I dislike it. So I
hmm
dislike it. I can kind of eat it now, but I used to hate the taste of dark chocolate, but that's one of the foods that was proved to like to actually help with endorphins and improve your mood. And there's like probably like 14 other like top 15 foods that also can do the same thing. So there's definitely a relationship between the two. And it goes and runs the gamut from like the physical aspect of it and consuming how some people get joy out of that to the mental health part of like this can actually affect your mental health, helping endorphins and other chemicals going in your brain to actually improve it.
That's interesting, and I said it because talking about the food, I can talk about my history and my past of not eating right and not getting the proper rest. Just getting up every day and starting my day just running. I get up out of the bed,
Mhm.
my boots are standing there saying, "Put me on," and I put them on, and I'm gone. And before 10 o'clock, I am absolutely wiped out. The brain fog, I don't know why I can't think. I don't know why I couldn't focus. I wasn't drinking water. I wasn't exercising. So my mental health as well as my physical health was in a great decline. So I can definitely relate to the both of you and how important food is to eat. So please continue.
Yeah, when you say that, immediately that reminded me of two things and two different people. One is my grandmother, because every time I go to Chicago and I stay there, my grandmother makes sure I eat breakfast. There's no way around it. Like she's gonna make sure not only like just eat breakfast, it's like a homemade ginormous breakfast, which I'm like, I usually just eat cereal. I'm not out here trying to eat all this food. And then she also doesn't eat a lot anymore. So I'm like, there's a lot of food that
Oh, so
we
now
have to
you're
eat as
eating her food.
leftovers. Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to eat for leftovers. But for her, it's not only important to make sure that, like, I'm fed, and kind of like we talked about before with the brain fog in schools and how that's how that program came about with school breakfasts is because, they noticed that kids weren't able to focus because they weren't having breakfast. But also for her, that's also showing that she cares. And that for her is a mental health thing. That's her thing. Like, that's how she displays that she's caring. That's how she shows that her love, right? And that makes her feel good. Like, because that's one of her love languages. And then immediately I thought about the second person is Alice Gomes, who used to work here. Me, Jose Rosa, who used to work here as well, Reggie Carter used to work here. We all never ate lunch. We would work right through lunch. We were used to it. It was a thing we normally did. And Alice went out of her way to force us to stop and have to eat. And we used to eat at a table right over here
Oh,
because
wow.
our office is up here at first. We used to eat right at that table, and she's like, "You guys aren't working. Like, you have
Mhm.
to take the break, the time to recharge, and just get away from work for a bit. You guys have to sit here and eat, and then get back to work, but I'm not letting you guys just work through lunch anymore."
Yep, I definitely agree with that. I have to say I've gotten away from having my separate lunch break from everything else in my workday, which I need to get back to being a lot more aware and present with my boundaries around that. But I used to make it a rule of mine at every job that I've had that when I am eating, I don't do work. Like that is a non-negotiable for me. You can talk to me all you want. I'm not going to pay attention to a lick that's coming out of your mouth because I am focusing on my food. First off, I love my food way too much to ignore my food. That's just disrespectful to food. Secondly, this is my time. And you feel different when you eat when you're present. And albeit I will be very honest about this. I read while I eat a lot of the time when I'm at work because I enjoy my little quiet time to read my books and chill out. But I'm present in my eating and reading. I don't want to be present in your talking to me about whatever meeting that's coming up or whatever job that we need to do later today or paper that needs to be sent to you because you can arguably do that when I'm not on my 30-minute lunch break. Like you've got 8 hours in a day, 7.5 hours of that you can do the work stuff. 30 minutes of mine should be for me to be present, eating my food so that I have a full tummy so I can function the rest of the day and work to the best of my capacity because I'm actually present. Rather than going, oh, let me eat like 2 bites of this. Oh, goody, now I got to run back and do my job, run back and eat a little bit more. And I've had jobs that have done that. I've had jobs where we didn't have a break. I literally worked an 8-hour day and they told us, you eat when the clients eat
Oh wow.
because I was working in residence or in day hab. And so, unfortunately, if let's say you're feeding, and I would have to help feed some clients at the time in some of those jobs, if you're feeding a bunch of folks, how can you feed yourself? So it'd be like I'd feed a bite to one person, a bite to another person, a bite to another person, throw a bite in my own mouth and cycle back again. At what point do you actually get to feel full? You don't, because you're just trying to shovel the food into your mouth and then be done with it. And so that you can take care of the client. You don't have any time to actually enjoy the nutrients or the sustenance that's coming from food. And having done jobs like that, I just adamantly will not do that to myself now in my career, because I've seen the difference in the work I produce after, when I've had a proper meal when I'm full versus a meal that could have been a proper meal but really wasn't, because I wasn't focused on it or mindful of it while eating.
Let me just read a little bit of your bio here because you talked about loving your food. Angela grew up in Singapore in America, trained in social work and psychology, enjoys reading, arts and crafts, cooking, and of course, eating what she cooks.
Or what else somebody else cooks. I'm also okay with just,
Fair
sampling.
enough.
Yeah, yeah.
Fair
I
enough.
don't have to cook it. But Singapore is also a foodie country. It's known for being a food country. People travel to Singapore from around the world to eat the delicacies we have there. So I blame that partially on going up there.
I remember when I went to Singapore, literally, your fellow was like, "There's not much else to do but eat."
Yeah, we
That's like
eat.
the main thing that we're here for.
Like, we're eating one meal and we're talking about what we're going to have for the next meal. I tried to warn him and he was like, "Oh no, I can do this." And like 3 days and he goes, how much do you guys eat in a day?" I was like, "We don't eat big portions. We eat tiny portions. The problem is you're new here, so they're just trying to shove it up like a ton of stuff down your gullet."
I'm not used to 5 meals a day. That's excessive.
Yeah, it's
It's
like it's
excessive.
breakfast, lunch, tea, dinner, supper.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
wasn't prepared for that. Now, I'm thinking like, "Oh, we're gonna just have like large portions of
Mm-mm.
like the 3
It's
meals."
small
Yeah,
portions,
it's like throughout the day you're
more
eating
food.
stuff, which I did love though. I grew to love it.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to one day traveling over to Singapore and trying out the foods over there. Could you please give me an idea of what are some of the foods like over in Singapore?
Oh, definitely, yeah. So Singapore is a genuine melting pot of different cultures. So you've got individuals who are Chinese, Malay, Indian, and European, because you've got a lot of expats that actually come there and settle. And so the way that the Singaporean cuisine has worked over the years of it developing has been, it's an amalgamation of the different cultures together. So you'll have like what you would consider here, I guess, fusion technically, right?
Mm.
But it's not really a fusion because it has become the cultural dishes of Singapore. Um, so a lot of them are like a mix between a little bit of like using the Indian cultures with the Chinese touch, or Malay with Indian, or Malay with Chinese. Like, you get different things, or Western food with a touch of Asian to it. So a lot of our local dishes, for example, that are very well known, usually when you think of Singapore, would be the chicken rice that's there, the Hainanese chicken rice, chili crab, laksa. Um, I would say satay would be one of the big things that we have there. There is no such thing as Singaporean noodles. I would like to say right now on the internet, while I have the chance, that is not a thing. I am making sure I want to say this. That is not a real thing. Okay, they just took noodles and they put curry powder on it and they call it Singaporean noodles. I want to be very clear. That's not a thing.
Why are you calling out those?
I just need to make sure that I get this out to the world right now while I can, because the amount of times people want to point Singaporean noodles to me in a restaurant on the menu is crazy. And I'm like, that is not a thing. That is not a thing.
Yeah, one of the first things I learned from Angela is that a lot of the Chinese restaurants,
It's not that.
yeah, it's just not Chinese. It's just Americanized food. It's just like Chinese folks don't usually eat that. And the way you can tell is if you go to those restaurants, not usually a lot of Chinese folks there. It's like, it's just not a lot of Chinese folks, which probably speaks volumes, right? That already kind of says something about like, oh, this might not be what I think it is.
I've had the opportunity of having lunch with you on a couple of occasions, Aurelius, and you chose some amazing restaurants with some good food. I remember you brought in. We had fish and vegetables and this nice fluffy rice, and I'm saying, "Wow, where have I been?"
Yeah, that sounds like the Nigeria spot. I think that was like the first time we were here playing board games and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the Nigerian spot. So for me, one of the things that I've become open to is trying new foods. I am big about trying new foods. I think it doesn't hurt to try one bite. Again, you might not have to eat the whole thing, but I love the idea of like using food as an adventure. That
Mhm.
excites me. Like,
I don't mean to stop you, but say that one more time about using food as a what?
an adventure.
Oh, we do that all the
Mm.
time. So the amount of times that I have come up with a plan and I'm like, let's cook this. And then we're midway in the dish and he's like, so what's the next step? And I go, oh, I don't know. I've never done this before. And he'll be like, but you introduced this. Like, this is something you've done. And I'm like, nope, no clue. We're in it to win it right now. So let's just figure this out. And it's an adventure. I'm like, yay, food adventure. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't.
Well, at least you have the ability, at least you have the strength to go ahead and just try it.
Yeah, we'll go pick up all the ingredients too, and then I will explain that I don't know what I'm doing.
You know, and in talking about food, right? I wanna just kind of talk about kids and eating, right? I want to just
Mhm.
focus on that for a minute because as we know, our youth today are not really, I don't think they're getting the real nutritional values from those things that they buy in the store, that they selling in the store, but they're making it seem like feed your kid this, feed your kid that. And a lot of this stuff is starchy,
Mm.
sugars, a bunch of things that will affect them neurologically. What are your perspectives on that?
I personally think that nutrition starts at home with the way that you lay that foundation with kids, right? And what they see around and what they learn from their caregivers is how they're going to respond to food. So if a caregiver is open and adventurous with food, usually the child typically is too. Not to say that children and adults do not have restrictive food avoidance, or any of those sort of concerns. If that's the case, that's very different. But if we're talking in a general population, right, you learn by modeling. And I think it's important when we are eating around kids is we don't say things like yuck, you, gross, things like that. Like specific language, I think is a very key thing when we are eating. So, um, even if you don't like something, it's and you're trying to get a kid to eat it, saying those things is not going to encourage them. You can say it's interesting or it's different, it's unusual, it's unique. You might not have tried this before. But I mean, just using the general colloquialism of don't yuck someone's yum is also it might not be yummy to you, but it might be yummy to somebody else. And you don't know. And if you tell a child it's yucky ahead of time, they're just not going to eat it. I mean, albeit if it's something you really like and you wanna keep it, please tell them that it's yucky so that you can have it for yourself.
That kind of reminds me of, like when folks say, well, I don't like this or I don't like that. Just because you don't like it doesn't mean that I may not like it because everybody's
It's different.
tastes are different. Everybody's palates are different. Some people like soft when some people enjoy hard.
Mhm. Texture is a big thing for people, I think, particularly. Um, and I think you should be adventurous with texture, right? Like, just because you don't like a food in one format doesn't mean you're not gonna like it another. I've heard people tell me, "Well, I don't like tomatoes," right? And then they turn around and tell me about the copious amounts of tomato sauce that they consume in pasta, and I am just confused. Because so is it you don't like the tomato, or do you not like the tomato when it's whole, or do you not like the tomato when it's sliced or cubed, quartered, pan fried, stir fried, blended? Like, what is it that you don't like? Even mushrooms. Mushrooms, a lot of people think mushrooms are disgusting. It's how you cook the mushroom. Mushrooms are soggy. Fun fact, mushrooms are soggy if you put oil into the pan when you're cooking it. Do not put oil or a lot of oil into the pan. Just very lightly sear them originally to start, and then they will like sizzle and squeak, is what it should sound like on the pan. If you're doing it correctly, you will get a dry, like outside of a little bit of a crisp to the mushroom. Fun fact.
I
And
have
don't throw
to
salt on it.
I
That's what
have
makes
to
it water.
say that I'm getting hungry, right? But at the same time, right, I'm getting fed mentally and emotionally. I'm feeling healthy from the conversation because conversations like this does something to the DNA in the body, right? I know that from my studies, because I kind of study the body. I kind of study certain things in biology, the DNA, and just like talking to water, you can talk to water and water will form different crystals.
Mhm.
And a lot of people think that it's untrue, but in today's world, in today's environment, they've made the true false and falsehoods true. What can you elaborate on that situation, especially when it comes to food and when it comes to your mental health, when it comes to doing the best you can to get rebalanced in a place now where everything is rush, rush, rush?
Aurelius, you wanna take that one?
Sure. So I guess when I think about that, right? Well, first, I'll just start with most of the time you'd want like fresh vegetables, right? That's one of the things that we all agree is good for you. Fresh vegetables and it's healthy, but depending where you're at,
Side note, if you can't get fresh, frozen is good too.
I was I was gonna say that. So, because depending on where you're at, you might not have fresh vegetables necessarily, or at least not a large array of fresh vegetables. And so when I think about it, like, my mother made sure I had a balanced dinner, right? We got protein, you got a starch, you got a veggie.
Mm.
We're gonna have that no matter what. And sometimes those might be canned vegetables, but that might be what's available, right? And the idea is like, all right, well, they'll tell you like canned vegetables can be unhealthy for you, or they'll, of course, again, fresh vegetables are better, but sometimes you have to work with what you got. And some vegetables are better than no vegetables, right? Like, and it's very interesting that as much as they talk about how healthy this stuff is, it also tends to be more expensive.
Mhm.
And so then the gap starts to widen, right? Where depending on what neighborhood you're in, depending on where you're at, where the fresh vegetables and what's healthy for you is more expensive, might not be available because it's more expensive, or it's just like, why would I do that when I can go to Wendy's and pay $10 to get 10 hamburgers, right? Well, maybe not now because inflation, but when I
It's
was
like
growing
what,
up,
$1.50 now or
yeah,
something?
I don't.
$2?
They've done it obviously nowadays for fast
Yeah.
food, but when I was growing up, most of the time we would get fast food because it was just cheaper. It was way cheaper. I can get way more food. I can go and get like,
That's how we survived in college, to
yeah,
be honest. Like, both of us and all our friends would go to, because we went to college together, we would go with our friends in the car to Concord, which was the closest city to us at the time, and when we attended school in Henniker, and we'd go to the McDonald's, remember, and like pile up the food because
mhm,
that's what we could afford. Because for $5, you could get a whole meal.
there you go.
You were getting a drink, fries, a dessert, ice cream if you wanted, and the burger, or you could get 2 burgers and maybe leave out one of the desserts. Like, I mean, the options were far larger because the cost was lower. And then you still had, if you only had $10 in your pocket, great, that gave you $5 for the rest of the week to get something else.
Would you say that at that particular time when you were in school and you were going to McDonald's or Burger King to just survive because you're in school. So every bit counts, especially when you're in school. I understand how it is to be in school. Um, Back then, food was different. Just say just a little bit different,
Mhm.
meaning it was cured different than it is today because of how they're quickly putting this food out, how quickly the chickens are being birthed and,
Yeah.
and all the beef and all the what is your perspective on that?
Well, I was thinking about how you said like how, nowadays true things are false, and false things are true. And I feel like that kind of happens because with time, things change, right? What's healthy for you at one time period might not be healthy for you for another. Like immediately, I think of fluoride, where me growing up, and even here in Boston, is probably the same way. In fact, the most positive same way still is that there's fluoride in our water.
Yes.
Yet I've seen studies recently that apparently fluoride bad for us in our water.
Yes.
But when I was growing up, it was always, well, what whitens our teeth. It's one of the things that's like made the water better in a lot of cities is having fluoride. And it's just like those things kind of flip flop. Or like, what's another thing I was thinking about? Or even like sometimes, and this might happen just with age and taste, but some things you had before that you used to love, and you're like, oh yeah, this is good and tastes good, or might even not necessarily be good for you, but not bad for you. You find out later, maybe not so true. Like the McRib, for instance.
Oreos. Oreos are a really good example. Do you know that you can light Oreos on fire and they won't burn, you will burn wood faster than you will an Oreo because there's something in the Oreo that actually is non-flammable.
Wow. No,
Yeah.
I had no
Yeah.
clue
And you can
of
use
that.
Dorito chips, by the way, fun fact, and Cheetos to start fires. We know that because we camp.
Oh, wow.
We've used them in a pinch, along with other stuff when we haven't had fuel.
It's funny you talk about the Doritos. Just recently, there was a gentleman talking about the Doritos and how they are made from those oils and those fats
Mhm.
and those things like that. And Doritos are on every shelf in the store. You got hot Doritos, chili Doritos, you got ranch Doritos, you got Doritos in a whole bunch of different flavors. And our kids are eating them up. It's not even just our kids, but you talked about as we age. This is you mentioned about as we age, our palates change, our tastes change. As we age, things change internally just as well too. And your background in being in counseling, right? And Realize this is really a question for you because you've worked with a lot of the elderly population. And I don't like calling our population elderly. This is just my perspective, my take. I just like calling them oracles and because for me, I can go to one of them and say, "Hey, you're still here. You're 70 years old. What did you do to get through in all these changing times and this and that? And what would you suggest I do?" And a lot of times I would get some great information that's going to help me to move forward in my present day life. So let's talk a little bit about aging, food, and that internal battle that sometimes happens when you can't eat or you're not getting the proper nutrition.
Yeah. So, I mean, as you kind of discussed, right? Where as you get older, your body's going to change internally. Not just your taste buds, as you said, and it's just some things will be better for you, and some things won't. Right? You want me to eat the same things? Immediately, I think of pork. Pork's like usually one of the first things that you are like, I'm probably going to start cutting this out of my diet because as great as it tastes, in fact, that's probably why it tastes so good because it's not healthy for us. But as great as it tastes, a lot of times people can't start having pork. They have to start cutting that out and they have to lean more towards chicken. Um, Even certain vegetables, I know that people say that they can't consume anymore, like the tomato sauce.
Mm.
That's another big one because now you're getting heartburn, right? Like, or acid reflux. Something else that you have to start cutting. Like, I can't have red sauce anymore. I had to switch over to Alfredo sauce. And so then they have to put that on the report, for the chef so they can change it. Stuff like that just kind of comes with the territory. Even for me, right? Mind you, like I'm 41 now, but as soon as I turned 40, I just started getting cramps all the time. And my cousin Domingo was like, you know what? It sounds like you're dehydrated. And I'm like, how, man? I drank a lot of water. I have 8 cups of
Mm.
water. Like, I have water all, yes. This baby saved me. This coconut water saved me. So not only do I have to drink the 8 cups of water, like sometimes I'll have to drink like a sports drink, like a Gatorade or
Baby Pedialyte is actually really great.
Pedialyte's the main one I go to.
Yeah. Pedialyte is wonderful because it doesn't have sugar in it. And because it's being given to babies, I mean, there is dye, but there's like less amounts of dye and they use baby safe dye. So effectively, if you are not feeling well, your best bet, rather than a Gatorade or a Powerade, to be honest, is a
Pedialyte.
Pedialyte. That's what they will tell you at the hospital.
Yeah.
Angela, coming from Singapore, right? The culture and the food is totally different from it is here.
Mhm.
I've had some food from Singapore, but I don't know if it was the actual because as you're
I got you
saying,
covered another day. I got you covered.
yeah. So I want to talk to you as well about I want to pose a question to you about aging and aging and eating and how the two different parts of the globe.
That's fair. I mean, Singapore, as of last year, achieved the like one of the healthiest populations in the world, based on, funny enough, a exercise program that started when I was in school, and I remember it. They made it a thing that you had to exercise, but it wasn't just that like you had to exercise in school. It was a fitness program that was run in the entirety of Singapore when I was a kid. And they would encourage people in the middle of the day to like stop and exercise.
Especially
wow.
Phoenix.
Yeah. And so now it's
Singapore.
to the point. Yeah. Like I sent you that commercial.
I
Remember?
see.
I was
Yeah.
that 1990s commercial and I was like, oh, damn, I remember that ad. And they're so involved with exercise and food and health that when you go shop at the supermarket, you get points on your groceries that like you can convert your points into redeeming them for things. And they do like different specials during the year where you can collect a certain amount of points based on the products you are buying. Obviously, some of that is product placement. Let's be real. Like nobody's a fool about that. Okay. But it's also you can get like items that are health based, but not only that, they were doing something a couple of years ago when I was back, where when you walked a certain distance, you punched that into like your app that went with your supermarket shopping and stuff, and you could earn like money and points back.
Oh,
So
wow.
they like try to incorporate fitness in so many ways. Most apartment buildings, which are called HDBs in Singapore, have some kind of fitness area outside in the local parks. All of our local parks in Singapore are outfitted with some kind of fitness equipment for the individuals who live in the area, and it's free. So you have your gyms, which you can access if you want. If you live at a high-end condo, great, you can probably access that. You have a private membership. Most jobs have exercise facilities on site. Also, probably because people work crazy hours in Singapore, so they are just going to the gym after work. But I mean, the accessibility to exercise equipment is not like it is here. Here, you've got to buy your own personal exercise equipment or sign up for a gym, or you've got to know somebody who knows somebody who can take you on their black card or something, right? It's not as easily accessible. And not only that, in Singapore, most people walk to get around. And I would have to say for traveling around the world, and I've been fortunate enough to do that, I have noticed that that is a majority of the culture in the rest of the world is they walk to get to things. Americans drive a lot because, especially depending on where you live in America, you may not have access to public transportation, or you may not have access to like sidewalks. I grew up in a town that didn't have sidewalks at all. Hanover, Massachusetts does not have sidewalks. Okay. They have sidewalks now. They did not have sidewalks when I was a teenager and I had to walk to the mall for my job and would pray that I would not get run over every time. Like it's frightening, right? If you're in an area that is not made accessible for uh, walking commuting, it limits the amount of exercise people will then do. It limits how they're going to get around and how they're going to find that pleasurable or not. Too, nobody wants to run on a broken sidewalk that has cracks. Too, how the city maintains things is a very important thing too. And in Singapore, a lot of those infrastructures are so well designed that you don't see the things being repaired or notice it because they fix them because they want people to use those things.
Mm.
So there's not a lot of things that sit broken, if that makes sense. Where I think here, arguably from what I've noticed, has been things break and then it's kind of like, oh, well, that sucks. Sorry to be you. Like your park's broken. Oh, your swings are broken. Well, that sucks. You guys can figure it out. Like you broke it. And vandalism is also so prevalent here. And so then that impacts other things. So there's layers and nuances to a lot of this stuff that we could delve into for hours, but we don't have the time today. But it's not, I think the accessibility to stuff is not as simply as clear cut as you would think it would be. And I don't think that it is in any country, right? I think that it's a little different in Singapore for that reason.
In talking about, you mentioned in Singapore, a lot of the population in Singapore either ride bikes or walk to get to their destination.
They don't ride
And-
back, not as much. They just walk. A lot of walking. Yeah.
I can recall a time where I would, I was always in my car.
Mm.
Always in my car. I would, from the time I get up in the morning, I go to work and I do what I got to do at work, but then I'm back in the car again. And I remember getting home and my knees were tight. My back was
Mhm.
tight. I couldn't, and I would eat, going back to this eating thing, right? But I would lay in the bed and eat because my knees hurt. My knees ached, right? And then I get up in the morning the brain fog, going back to the brain fog. And then my internal organs, because they didn't digest the food because I ate
Lying down.
in the bed.
Yeah.
I don't want to get kind of gross, but you go to kind of,
Not feeling good.
yeah, and it's not the best feeling when you're doing the best you can to kind of release some old stuff in order
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
put in new stuff. And once I
You can say
be
constipation, man. We
okay,
Yeah,
thank you so
there
much.
we
Yeah.
go. There we go.
it's fine. That's not a bad word.
No, just natural.
I didn't try not to swear. I was confused for a minute. I was like, is this constipation?
I was trying to figure out what word he was trying to go for.
That
Yeah.
first, I was like,
I was like,
I think it's constipation.
I didn't know where we were headed with that. So.
Hey, folks, here on the Thought Exchange Health Corner, don't be surprised at what you hear, okay? Please don't. Especially coming from our esteemed guest. And just know that the information that you're going to receive here is going to be information that you're going to be able to utilize today, not tomorrow, right now. Angela and Aurelius, they have the authority and the ability to talk about what they're talking about, and they can kind of break it down for you just as well too, so you can understand it, and not just understand it, but once again be able to utilize it right now and not tomorrow. This information is educational, motivational, inspirational, but also to help to eliminate some of your fears. So let's go right back to you, Angela, and get back to that. It, that the health side, the food side, but also just because hand in hand, the food and the emotional intelligence piece, right?
Mhm.
That's very important in where we are today with a lot of our food saying that it's organic, or you're getting food that has been created in the laboratory. So I just want you to elaborate just a little bit on that, uh, please.
So I think that the issues with food and it being organic or not are interesting here in America. Um, I'm trying to figure out how to say this. Okay, so I think that having grown up in a country where I could go outside and arguably pluck trees from my grandparents' fruit trees, I know what organic is. I had free access to mango trees, banana trees, coconut trees, my whole entire childhood, and even now as an adult, I do when I go home.
Ooh.
And so when people tell me that something is organic, I'm like, okay, organic in what way? Because I know what organic is when you know that what you've put in it, you know where it's been, you know how it's been harvested, etc. You're just pulling it from the ground. I grow my own stuff at home, and I think that from my understanding of what I've done on reading here in America, there's different tiers of organic food here. And you even have to check the label, because even if it says organic, if the organic label isn't a specific type of label, it's not actually organic. It means that they can use pesticides still, but it's a limited type of pesticide because it won't include certain chemicals. But a pesticide is still a pesticide at the end of the day, right? And when we look at foods and we have this label of it being organic and we don't really know what organic is, I think that's where that disconnect. So then you're buying things based on a label with a price that's attached to it. So you think that you're buying something that is actually of a good quality when the reality might be actually contradictory, going back to what you said about the truth is a falsehood and a falsehood is a truth. And then you're buying the food that you think is not organic, but actually might in some weird way be healthier than the organic food. Like that is just so kerfuffling here when you think about that. And again, growing up in a country where I was lucky and had the opportunity with my grandparents' household to have that access, and I've been quite lucky where I've made my own little area in my own household as I've grown up to grow my own food, but not everybody has that access. And so I think that, it's again, just understanding what are the differences are. And nobody should ever be so worried, by the way, that they don't want to buy organic. If that's what you want to buy it, right? But know what you're getting. Know what you're paying for is at the end of the day, and know what it is that you're ingesting. And some of it is label based. Like, there's a lot of stuff I was reading recently about like food products when you read the labels on like the prepackaged stuff,
Mm.
that when they say it's clean ingredients, you flip it over, it's not actually that clean when you read the bag
Oh, wow.
because they've like processed or synthesized stuff that's in there. So even within that, there is a lot of, I think, misinformation. Something that I find interesting, again, from growing up in Singapore, is the ingredients list for things that I can get here that I can also get there are entirely different. And I've shown Aurelius this. I have taken the same container of Cadbury hot cocoa that I can get here, and I've brought back one from Singapore that was actually imported from England, and the list is half the size.
Wow.
Yeah.
And that should tell you something. When you are putting them next to something that's the same, but it's not the same, and it doesn't taste the same, it's weird. It's weird.
Let me ask a question. Is it possible when you come back that you can, we can bring something to compare?
Uh, maybe,
I think the same. I was like,
maybe.
Mm,
We'll see. We can
Okay.
work on that one. I think your live demo will be easier to do first.
Okay.
And that one I was more apprehensive about until you just asked me this question. I was like, hold on.
sometimes America's very funny about
Yeah,
bringing in
about those things.
things from other countries for whatever reason. I mean,
I was thinking he was just meaning coming back to the show,
yeah.
not coming back from over there. I didn't
Well,
get that far in
maybe.
my brain.
Right. Well, maybe we can just do some research and pull up some,
We could definitely show labels. We could do that. That is, without a doubt, we could arguably do that.
Yes, definitely. Definitely.
Even though we tend to be much looser with requirements here, like as Angela said, right? Our ingredients are usually
Yeah, like
more
let's see.
because we usually can put in a lot more. A lot of other countries
Here,
don't use a lot of the same ingredients. we
good
use.
example. Made in Vietnam, product of Vietnam, okay? Product of Tufuco, and then province, blah, 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 whole bunch of stuff, Vietnam. Ingredients: coconut water, 98%, cane sugar, contains coconut, okay? There is a blue bottle of coconut water that
Yeah.
I know is on the store
Vita, I
shelves.
think? Is it Vita?
Is it
What's
Vita Coco or something like that?
Yeah.
Whatever it is, it's. I know it's blue because I picked it up before and I thought it was coconut water, and so I drank it. And let me tell you, the response I had to that water was disgusting. Personally, I just want to say I did not like it because
Folks, it's just her
my
perspective.
personal opinion. I just want to be very clear.
That's all. If you like Vito Coco,
If you like it, please enjoy it. Yeah, and I don't know if it was Vita Coco. I just know it was a blue container, okay? But it was, when I read the back, there was a whole myriad of other stuff in there. It had like mineralized water, salt, and electrolytes. And I went, but coconut water has electrolytes.
Yes, it does.
Why are you adding electrolytes to something that has electrolytes? And you can have too many electrolytes. People don't realize that. You can overdo anything in life. Too much water, you can kill yourself with too much water, by the way.
Yeah.
Fun fact. You can actually flood your system and do a reverse osmosis on yourself and make yourself so sick you can end up in the hospital, because I've seen clients do that.
Wow. Well, I've heard those stories. I've heard those stories that people just drank too much water, and it caused a whole lot of other health issues.
You have
just
to have
as
the
well,
salt
too.
pumped back into you is what ends up happening,
makes
because you
sense.
flush it all out of your system. That's what happens. You literally dilute yourself so much that you don't have enough salt in your own body.
Wow. So, while we're here, before we get to the end of this episode, we have a few items in front of us that we would like to kind of just briefly go over. And, these are some items that, I know for myself on a daily basis. Every morning I do the D3, I do the vitamin C and the sea moss, and also the redwood just as well, too. If I wanted a cup of tea, right, I would go with the tea because the tea is blue hibiscus earth. Could you read that for me, please, Angie?
Blue hibiscus earth tea. It's a loose leaf hibiscus herbal tea infused with fruiting body mushroom blend. It's a tea blend with lion's mane, reishi, and cordyceps. And the lion's mane provides focus. The reishi assists with stress. The cordyceps also helps with energy. The ingredients include all natural blueberry flavored Assam lemongrass, hibiscus petals, raspberry leaves, cordyceps mushroom extract, reishi mushroom extract, lion's mane mushroom extract, and dexatrin, which is a byproduct of the mushroom extract product or process. Sorry, process.
And we have,
And it has caffeine.
and well, I know at nighttime, sometimes when I want a cup of tea, I will have, or if I'm thinking about coffee, I will have the tea
Mm.
instead of the coffee.
Yeah.
In
I do that
the
all the time.
Yeah, and the tea for me relaxes me. It helps me sleep, and I can get into a deep sleep. And that deep sleeps help me get up in the morning, and I'm well rested in the morning because once again, in working and running and doing the things that we do on a daily basis here, you get home sometime, the mind is consistently still running because we're still thinking we're still on the job. Mentally, we're still on the job. Would you want to talk a little bit about that, about being mentally on the job while you're home?
He has a
Uh,
harder time separating. He needs to talk about that. He needs some better work-life boundaries.
I'm sorry. What?
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. What? Who? Acting all confused.
I also do a different type of job. So, I mean, one of the things, especially with folks that work in the community, is burnout because you work in the community, right? Your hours are different. It's not as structured as when I'm doing therapy. That's one of the things when I came back here, I talked to folks about. And I'm like, it's, it's one of those things I talked about a lot where, it's because this work with the community kind of is on other people's schedule. Kind of just gotta go with other people's schedule. Like my hours have to shift all the time. Like tonight, I'll be here a bit later because it's just what time's available, right? And so with that, Angela's correct. It makes it much harder to do a work life balance. Um, but again, this kind of goes back to what I talked about the first episode, where I take time out specifically at times that I know I have that freedom to do so, right? Like when I talk about getting up early, which I know you don't like getting up early, but for me,
Mm-mm.
I like to get up early and spend that time to do stuff to enjoy. That's how I increase my work life balance, right? Is that there are certain periods of times I know, like, all right, this won't be interrupted and this won't be shifted. And I take advantage of those times where I know afternoons and nights can be shifted. Something can happen. We're not emergency response. It's not near as bad as the city, where they're just like responding and stuff like that. But at times, if something does happen, we might have to respond. It kind of comes with the territory. So I guess the importance of trying to resolve that and not letting it overwhelm you and become too much
Mm.
is identifying pockets of time where you're like, I know I have this time
Mhm.
and I can do this during this time.
Mhm.
And just do the best you can with that.
That's an important part you talked about, identifying. When you can identify it, you can put a name to it, but also you can begin to add some things or take some things away to bring about a much better balance. As we continue to go forth, I want to talk about those organic red beet crystals. And as we know, beets are good for blood, for oxygen. It gives you more oxygen. It gives you more fuel. The more oxygen you got to your brain, the more what, Miss Angela?
Energy, fuel. I don't know.
There
What?
you go.
Where we
You
going?
talked about it. But no, they say the more oxygen you get to the brain, the better you get less brain fog.
Yes, there we go.
Yes.
Right. Less brain fog, better clarity.
Mhm.
Right. And you can retain more information. Right. And just talking about the red beet crystals, when I know when I was a kid, my mom used to give us beets and
Beets.
she used to cut them up like apples
Love
and stuff.
beets.
And she would have us bite them. We would crunch them and, and as kids, man, we was running all day long. Like, when we gonna stop? But as I started aging and working and doing those, life and as they would call it, the energy levels begin to drop. Now, from experience, I can talk about the Flora Organic Red Beet Crystals because it's something that I do on almost on a daily. And I have to say that since I've begun to drink that with my alkaline water, I felt more energy. I felt a lot. I didn't have that brain fog. I was able to not crash at a certain specific time.
I've got a question for you, actually, Tony.
Sure.
So, what makes you personally decide to ingest the crystals, the red beet crystals, versus eating the beets?
Well, for me, I can carry that with me.
Hmm.
I can take it, I can get a bottle of water, I can put it into my bottle of water, shake it up, and now I have myself something, not just water, because sometimes, like you was talking about that water,
Yeah.
right? You can drink water to the point where, or sometimes you get tired of drinking water
Yeah.
because water has no taste to it whatsoever, right? And, drinking water sometimes can get boring, right? But when I add the organic the beets to it, it's something I can taste it now, but also I can get my intake of water in on my daily intake of water in just as well too.
Nice. So, the convenience of it is definitely a lot easier.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, Tony should be the spokesperson.
I mean, and
for these red
convenience
beet
of things is
crystals.
a very big thing for people, right? The reality being is that a lot of people don't have time. And this goes back to what you were saying about the work-life balance. And so to tie this into food, if you think about food and you are tired all day and you've worked, how many people want to go home and cook? It's going to take what, 30 minutes minimum if you're lucky. And I'm including start to finish with your prep time, right? 30 minutes, arguably 20 to 30 minutes if you're making a very quick, easy. But if you are having to do a lot of prep, most people aren't going to want to do that after work. Um, I- even to tie this into Singapore, like, because we were talking about that earlier with the food culture,
Yes.
they've noticed that there's a decrease in people, shopping now because people are so busy with the hours that they're working that the food industry for takeout has grown so much more. And they've noticed that there's a dying art of people having these skills to cook.
Wow.
And that's in a country that is known for its food. I think that even when you are here in America, I have plenty of friends who are like, I'm too tired to cook after work. I just rather order takeout. Or if they do cook, they cook, and I know I do this. I'll cook for a few days so that I don't have to cook again. And I'll like portion out my meals so that I'm not trying to worry about that. Because it gets exhausting, right? You're coming home, you're working till 8, 9 at night in some cases. If you're lucky, you have a 9 to 5 job. I know that Aurelius and I don't. We don't have those types of jobs, right? So we work late. It's whatever the day is. To try and cook after that, and you're eating at 10 o'clock at night is ridiculous because this goes back to what you said would happen to you. So even though you got the takeout, right? Even if we cook at home and we eat, or you cook at home and you eat, even if you don't get that opportunity to digest, it's still sitting as a sedentary lump in your tummy when you're sleeping.
Oh yeah.
And then it's not metabolizing, which is then what adds to all of us having a very cute cupcake top, as I like to think of it as. And
Mm.
I mean, none of us are at that age where we're 18 and you eat what you want and it just evaporates into the ether.
Hey, speak for yourself. No, I'm just joking.
Tony's gonna be 18 forever.
Audience, I wish. Thank you, Angela, for being so modest. You know, um, you know, when we come back for the next episode, Angela, we're going to have some items that you are going to be preparing for the audience, and
You too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't try and coerce me on screen without
were
yourself
real
being in
excited,
there.
too.
Yeah,
Hey,
yeah. See?
hey,
You could wait.
Yeah.
You have 2 blenders.
Yeah, you
real
said all of
excited.
that. Yeah. So you too.
yes, we're gonna come back and we're gonna give our audience a treat. We're gonna give our
Yes.
audience a treat.
We
We're
will do a
going,
live demo. All 3 of us, will do a live demo.
yes.
Aurelius too. He's gonna demo something of his own.
Am I?
Mhm.
Yes, we're gonna put some stuff out there. We're gonna have some stuff, and it's going to be it's going to be some stuff that you're going to be able to digest. It's going to be some items that some food that if you try it, and as Aurelius was talking about being that foodie, just trying different foods and making food an adventure. Making food an adventure. And I believe Angela talked about people not liking certain things because other people saying they don't like it or
We had a
whatever.
perfect demonstration live that I said I did not like something and probably arguably used a word that I shouldn't have, which
Mm. So
again, personal choice, guys. Like you like it what you like. I'm not yucking anybody's yum. I'm yucking my own yuck.
I like the way she said that, but I don't know if I could say it the way she said it. you know, so once again, when we come back, we're going to have Angela, Aurelius, and myself. We're going to prepare some things for you, and we're also going to taste them just as well too. But we're also going to let you know what are the health benefits of them, and we're going to read to you the facts. We're going to show you the facts. We're going to show you the different ingredients. We're going to show you what is inside each product, as well as we're going to show you how to prepare them in our own perspective, because other people prepared things differently. And, just like sea moss, there's some folks that prepare sea moss, they like to boil it. They like to boil it before they blend it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And you don't?
No, I don't like to
interesting.
boil mine in order to blend it.
Oh, okay.
And you don't have to boil it.
Oh.
You don't have to boil it. But some folks will say, well, but so everybody prepares differently. But even in preparing your food differently, as long as the food is going to give you some internal nutritional value, that's all that really counts.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
Mm. So in closing, Angela and Aurelius, would you like to give the audience something to take with them, a takeaway for this episode?
Don't yuck other people's yum.
That seems to be.
I'm gonna stick with that one for today. That's Angela over and out.
I mean, I guess I think the main takeaway that I got from this experience is monitor your food, right? Like, I'm not saying to monitor all your food. I would be lying if I said I do it all the time. I will say as you get older, you're probably gonna do it more. It's just a natural occurrence because again, as the body changes, you're like, I need certain things, I can't eat certain things. But like, just to take a look at the label once in a while, or really just moderation and balance.
Mhm.
Like I do not eat perfect all the time. In fact, a lot of time I don't eat perfect. But usually what I think about is like, all right, if I eat this, I know I'm gonna have to supplement it with this. Or uh, way more often, I have to take away something. If I'm gonna have this drink now, I'm not having ice cream later. I can't have Italian ice later. Like my dessert shot now because all of it's inside that drink. So like,
I do it a little differently. I'll still have the ice cream or I'll still have like whatever the sweet drink will be. I'll just have less.
yeah, like in moderation.
Yeah. But like, so instead of removing the thing that I still want, though, I
Yeah.
will still have, yeah. So instead of having the full drink, I would have like half the drink.
I was about to say.
Yeah. Or like instead of eating like a pint of ice cream, which you probably shouldn't do in a sitting anyways, have like a scoop.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
also moderation in regards to
And-
like literally just balancing it out.
Yeah. And that is such a key thing, I think, too, as you get older, because your metabolism's just not as fast, realistically.
Yeah.
And so it just all sits like a little lump.
This has been a great episode. A very great episode. And the first episode was full of information. This episode was full of extra information to stack on top of that information. And when we come back, we're going to this is about what we do here. It's education, motivation, inspiration. And also we do the best we can to eliminate some of those fears and some of those doubts, but also to bring about some information that you may not be aware of. Angela and Aurelius, I want you guys to end this episode tonight, but however, could you please give us something short on how to maintain your mental health in a time where politically, economically, and socially things are in an uproar? What advice could you give someone who who don't know or don't have the emotional intelligence to kind of move away from those things? If that is fair to say. If not, please correct me and put it in a way that will make some sense.
Well, I know for me, it goes back to literally the same word, balance.
Mm-hmm.
So I've had this
I will
combo
say that too.
with clients. I've had this combo with folks here that I work with, where if you know, for instance, watching the news is going to stress you out, and you know that's what's going to happen, right? It's going to give you stress. It's going to negatively affect your mental health. Do not consume as much of the news.
Mhm.
Like, just, and I'm not saying to completely not watch the news, right?
Mm.
Like, for instance, I know one of my coworkers here, she made a rule because the news stresses her out. She only watches the news on the weekend so she can de-stress, because she watches it during the week. She comes here, she's further stressed. It negatively affects her work. It's just a lot. And so she's like, I will only watch on the weekends. And that makes sense, right? Like, because unfortunately, a lot of times the news, it's a lot of negative energy and information. So, and that can have an effect on folks. So again, balance, just balance. Like,
And to tag on to that, I'd like to say give yourself grace. And that goes in part and parcel with balance, right? All, often people criticize themselves. I didn't do the dishes. I didn't do the laundry. I didn't put away that
Yeah.
XYZ.
Mm-hmm.
Is this going to make or break your day? Is this going to be the end all be all to your day? If not, if it is not that high of a priority on the list, and let's say maybe, I don't know, picking up your dog or cat food from the market, which took an additional 20 minutes because there was traffic, was more important, then give yourself the grace that you didn't do the dish because you were taking care of your pet. And that, is a little bit more of a priority because the animal needs to eat, right? Just giving yourself grace. Some of that is something that I think we're all lacking right now. We're all too critical of ourselves and other people, and we need to give each other and ourselves grace.
Thank you, Angela, and thank you, Aurelius. And for the audience, their credibility and their ethos is they're both licensed clinical social workers. So, as licensed clinical social workers, they're in the battlefields, they're in the grind on a daily basis, especially where we are today, once again, politically, socially, and financially. So, I just want to give both of you your flowers now and thank you for everything that you've done and everything that you continue to do, because some folks might think that your job is easy and cushy. Some folks might think that, oh, well, you got a degree and you this and you that, and, you know, I don't see it that way, especially when you are both dealing with humans. You're dealing with people's emotions. You're dealing with people's feelings, their fears, their doubts, their pictures that they've painted, that you got to come about and try to change that picture and give a different feeling, or create some balance. To create some balance. So I just want to put that out there for the audience, so that way, you know, there is no question about the information that you are giving, and where that information is coming from the heart. So once
Thank you.
again, thank you, Realist. Thank you, Angela. And my name is Tony Davis. I'd like to thank you once again for joining us here on the Thought Exchange Cafe Health Corner. We look forward to seeing you again very, very soon. And if you look down in at the description, we'll give you a date of episode 3. And if you want to go back and check out episode 1, go back and check out episode 1. Once again, thank you so much. We look forward to seeing you again soon.